Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Not Church. This is On Humility by Request, a parable of Jesus the Code Switcher, interpretive thinking, a little reading, a little riffing. This is Not Church on Sunday, July 12th, 2020. I'm Reverend Peter Panagore, MDiv, Yale. peterpanagore.love. Your support of Not Church keeps this Sunday morning series running. So thanks. You know who you are. I appreciate it. Counseling services are available. But first, the frogs in the pond. Because somebody asked, what's that noise in the background? So I'm going to take you over to see the pond here. In that lily pond are my frogs. Well, they're not my frogs. They live here. I live in the same neighborhood with them. They're my neighborhood front yard frogs. And they talk during Not Church. And so they're welcome to participate as they see fit. So if you like this video, please share it. This is On Humility by Request. A little reading, a little riffing. A millionaire had 2 sons. The younger son told his father, I want my share of your estate now, before you die. So his father agreed to divide the wealth between the 2 sons. A few days later, the younger son packed all his belongings and moved to a distant land. And there, he wasted all his money in wild living. About this time, his money ran out, and a famine swept over the land, and he began to starve. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him to feed the pigs. Disease vector, historic health rules of not raising or eating pigs was his culture. Pigs were taboo and a taboo food. The young man became so hungry that even the pods he was feeding the pigs looked good to him. But no one gave him anything. No one gave him anything. When he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, at home, even the hired servants have food enough to spare, and here I am dying of hunger. I'll go home. I'll say to my father, Dad, I have sinned against both heaven and you, and I'm no longer worthy to be your son, to be called your son. So please take me on as a hired servant. A word about sin. Every time I hurt another person, I sin. Unintentional sin is unavoidable. The action of intentionally wounding another is, well, those are the sins that hurt the most when I was dead, as the divine fire of love cleansed me. So, the son returned home to his father, and while he was still a long way off, his father came running to him because he saw him, and the father's heart was filled with compassion, and he ran to his son, and he embraced him, and he kissed him. The all-knowledge and the all-knowing mother and father rushes to embrace us with hugs and kisses and a huge embrace when the inner door opens, every time, especially the last time. A penitent heart is overwhelmed by the presence of love, born of seeing and feeling the sins of others I gave as gifts of pain, and I self-judged as guilty. And that allowed me, dead guy, to embrace the embracer, or let the embracer embrace me. His son said to him, "Father, I have sinned both against heaven and you, and I'm not worthy to be called your son." And I was not worthy, but I was beloved. I was beloved, and that mattered more. In the presence of the unlimited infinity, my limited self was unworthy of the worthiness itself. But his father said to the servants, "Quick, bring the finest robe in the house and put it on him. Get a ring for his finger and sandals for his feet, and kill the calf we have been fattening. We must celebrate with a feast, for this child of mine was dead and has now returned to life. He was lost and he is now found." And so the party began. I returned to life when I was dead, forgiven and welcomed, and given all the gifts beyond my imagining, most of which I've left behind. And now, meanwhile, the older son was working in the fields, and when he got home, he heard music and dancing in the house, and he asked one of the servants what was going on. "Your brother's back," he was told, "and your father has killed the fatted calf, and we're celebrating because of his safe return." And the older brother was already angry, and he got angrier, and he wouldn't go in. His father came out and begged him, but he replied, "All these years I've slaved for you and never once refused to do a single thing you told me. I followed all the rules and the laws. And in that time, you never gave me anything. You never killed even a goat for me and my friends to have a party. And yet when this son of yours comes home, after squandering your money on prostitutes and profligate living, you celebrate by killing the fatted calf." His father looks at him and he says, "Look, dear son, dear child of God, you've always stayed with me, and everything I have is yours. We had to celebrate this day, for your brother was dead and he's come back to life. He was lost and now he's found. I was the prodigal child. You are the prodigal child. I still am the prodigal child. From the point of view of heaven, I saw every human covered with the veil of forgetfulness, and that every one of us is the favorite child of God, the one who is lost and will come home and be found. And each of us is already fully known. Each of us is beloved. Each of us left heaven and came into this world, and with hearts humbled by almighty love, in the presence of the divine, when we die, we too are welcomed back into heaven, embraced and kissed and hugged. A heart can be humbled by a life of poor choices when the day comes and one's heart turns and returns again to the divine. Humility is not meekness. Humility is courageous. Think of the courage of the Son to return. Live kind-heartedly as the Father, and live bravely as the Son. And as for the other son, release your anger that hardens your heart against the mercy of the merciful and the forgiveness of the unforgivable. the forgiveness given by forgiveness itself for those things that we think are unforgivable. A penitent heart goes a long way. A penitent heart is a humbled heart. To see oneself as created, consciousness, in the presence of the uncreated all knowledge and all knowing is to witness the smallness of self, the smallness of soul, while seeing its sameness with the Creator, the uncreated, the origin of all, the source of all being. Someone asked me to talk about humility. Think of the humility of the son in this story who goes off after breaking his father's heart. I'm not going to wait till you die, and I'm probably not going to hang around while you die. I'd like my inheritance now. Thank you. And off he goes. And the father divides, not only does he give his errant son the money, he gives it to his other son at the same time, divides it right then and there. They both get their half. He goes off and he lives this life in the world, and then he comes back to the metaphor, father, relationship of a good father, not a bad one. And does the father blame him or scream at him for squandering half of his wealth? No. He spends more money. He kills the calf he's been putting money into, feeding it, to fatten it. And he throws a party, which is not cheap. And he invites all these people to come and dance and celebrate. He spends more. The lavishness of the blessing of the merciful is abundance itself, lavished on every human heart who turns the eye of self to the oneness of being and seeks the sameness that's above with a capital S, from which you came, light from light. Humility isn't about being meek. Humility is the recognition of the limited nature of our souls in comparison to the unlimited itself. And from that place, humility arises of the vast and equal equality between all human beings, partly because we're all made of light, created by the uncreated Creator, and partly because we're all equally human and enfleshed, so capable of harm causing and heartbreaking and forgiveness giving. That takes courage too. And courage and forgiveness, well, those things are made also of humility. And humility isn't this thing of being less than, bowing. Those servants in that household were maybe not well paid, but they were paid. And they had enough money left over for an abundance of food. What does that mean? That even in our poverty, when we come back destitute from the famine with nothing in our pockets, when we enter the presence of the divine, if we understand our position of humility, which we will, because it's overwhelming, then the heart becomes cleansed, and the entry is allowed, and the celebration begins. In terms of our humanity, humility is equality, both of brokenness and light, made of two parts, but the origin of which is the seeing of the smallness of oneself in comparison to the infinitude of the holy inexpressible. This place is inside your sacred heart. To get out, go in. This is involution. Involution. Seek the one who seeks to embrace you. Thanks for coming this week. Thanks for listening. If this touches you, let me know. I'd like to hear your comments. If today's program made you think, or touched your heart, or opened your mind, then please like my YouTube channel and subscribe for our weekly email to stay up to date with this series and more as we explore the Bible through the eyes of a post-denominational, former church pastor, and two-time near-death experiencer, who some call a heretic. I'm a mystic. And mystics, historically, are dangerous to the status quo. Peace and love. God is love. God is love. See you soon. I'll come back and look at the comments. Good morning, Sue, Peony, aka Catherine, John Theodore, Rob, Whitehouse, Merit Singh. Good morning, Rich Hall and Kathy. Illumination is reality. I will come back and comment with you guys. Come to the Zoom room if you want to. Discussion follows. Peace. I'll post it. I'll post it in the comments there. Bye. Oh, I just realized that there's always a delay with YouTube. So let me see if I can post it now. That would be a good thing. Copy invitation. Insert it now. Send. Did it send? I don't know. Not sure it's sending, my friends. I've tried. Peace and love.